Okay, so this first unit of chapter 10, we just want to solve basic equations, and it doesn't seem difficult. So just solving equations. And so you get the first equation, you get sine of x equals 1/2. And you can visually see, we know the answer, but the idea is that there's more than one answer, you know. So you might say, okay, well, I know from memorizing the chart that x is equal to 30 and 150. Know it in radians. I'm being really lazy here. I'm sorry. Just telling you, Mr. Adler, you're being lazy. There's no reason you can't say pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. I'm going to keep it in degrees to make a point. So you know that it's 30 and 50, but the idea is that the sine wave it continues in both directions. And it also goes this way also. So it's not the question is this easy to find? The question is, how do we figure out all these solutions? We know that all these points, all these degrees or radians satisfy the solution. The question is, you have to just make sure what is the interval that they're looking for the answer. So let's say that they say x is between 0 and 2 pi, 360. You'd say, okay, first of all, I turn everything into degrees. You'd say, okay, you know what? It's 30 and 50. That's good. If anything, they're going to ask. They might do from 0 to 4 pi. Well, we know that sine is periodic, so every answer repeats itself every 2 pi or 360. So just add on, 360 to get 390. That gives you, and then you can add 150 plus 360. That gives you 510. Are we in the range? Well, 4 pi is 720. So you have the solutions, all the solutions. Another thing they might say like negative. Maybe they say negative pi to pi. That's the interval they're looking for. That's okay. So you know what? You subtract 360. We know in this case we're between 180, negative 180 and 180. You say, okay, you know what? If I can add 2 pi, I can subtract 2 pi. So 30 minus 360 is negative 330. And 150 minus 360 is negative 210. And there's no answer in this interval. And then that's the idea. Just once again, these are easy to solve. But the question is, does it fall within the expected interval? That's what you're interested in. Let's take a look at another example. How about we look at the solution for the sine of x equals negative 2/3. Okay, same idea. You know that the sine of some angle is negative. You know it's an angle in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. You also know negative 2/3 is not an angle you're used to, so it would probably be a GDC. So you use the inverse sine. So x equals the inverse sine of negative 2/3. Now you know that studying the graphing calculator is going to give us some angle in the 4th quadrant, but it's going to be like negative. And when you go to your GDC, and the answer is, what GDC is going to say is that x equals negative 41.8. Okay, so at this point the question is, well, how do I interpret that? Because maybe they'll say, well, we want to know where x is between 0 and 2 pi. You say, oh, that's 360. Okay, well, what are the two angles? You say, okay, it's here and here. So it's 180 plus the 41.8. Once again, this is the reference angle. So the angle in the 3rd quadrant, whose reference angle is 41.8, is 180 plus 41.8, which is 221.8. And we're looking for the 4th quadrant angle, whose reference angle is 41.8. 41.8. So let's just do 360 minus 41.8, and we have 300 and, what do we have? 19.2. 319.2. Yes. Okay. So those are two angles between 0 and 2 pi. But maybe they don't ask for 0 and 2 pi. Maybe they ask for 0 and 4 pi. Maybe they say, no, we want you to go out to 4 pi. So you're like, okay, no big deal. So once again, my upper limit is 720. Throw on 360 to both of these. You're like, fine. So I know I have my 221, I have my 319, 221.8 plus 360, and 319.2, another 360, and we have another two angles that are within 0 to 4 pi or 720 that satisfy this equation. Check the limits again. They might say negative 180 to 180. You don't know. You check it out. Like, no. They want negative pi to pi. You're like, fine, no big deal. This is negative 180. This is 180. So let's subtract off. So like 221.8 minus 360. Hey Siri. 221.8 minus 360.
21.8 minus 360 is negative 338.2.
Hey Siri, 221.8 minus 360.
221 minus 360 is negative 139.
Okay, that's one answer. And then, hey Siri. Hey Siri. 319.2 minus 360.
319.2 minus 360 is negative 40.8.
So now you have another two solutions. So let's see. These don't fall in there. The only two solutions that would fall in the range of negative pi to pi that would satisfy this equation are negative 139 and negative 40.8, and that's basically it. Yeah, that's 10.1. Good.